So these are the Sennheiser CX True Wireless earbuds. They're the successors to the Sennheiser CX 400BT Truly Wireless earbuds, which came out in the summer of 2020. Now, these earbuds aren't a major upgrade from their predecessors, but they do have some important improvements to them. And I'll even say this right now, I think these earbuds sound better than the Sennheiser Momentum 2s, which have been my favorite sounding earbuds for a while now. And in general, these earbuds have me really excited for the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. Regarding pricing, the CXs have a retail price of $130, whereas when the CX 400BTs first came out, they used to retail for $200 and then eventually went on sale. Now, if you're looking for earbuds and sound is your main priority, then the CXs are a solid pickup that won't break the bank. But for comparison's sake, the Momentum 2s have a retail price of $300, but you can find them on sale for $250 these days. I wonder why. Nonetheless, if you want to pick any of these earbuds up, they'll be linked down below. Now, first let's talk about this case. The CX's case is basically identical to the CX 400BT's case. It's the same size and it has the same slightly powdered plastic body. Except the battery indicator light has now been moved to the front, similar to most other cases out there, which is the correct placement. Now, regarding size, this case is fairly compact and it does have a small footprint to it, similar to the AirPods Pro's case or Galaxy Buds Pro's case. But this case is noticeably thicker than the AirPods Pro's case and Galaxy Buds case. Nonetheless, you can definitely daily drive this case, and this case isn't super noticeable when it's in your pocket, which is great. Because for comparison's sake, the Momentum 2's case is a little bit on the larger side. I say you can still daily drive this case, but this is the largest case that I'll say is acceptable. So, like I've said in the past, I really hope the future Momentum 3s will have a case similar to the CX 400BT's, now CX's case, because the Momentum earbuds actually fit inside this case. Now, when it comes to battery life, this is one of the first improvements that we see going from the CX 400BTs to the CXs. The Sennheiser CX 400BTs have an advertised combined battery life of 20 hours. The earbuds themselves can go for 7 straight hours and the case can supply 2 additional charges. Now, a combined battery life of 20 hours is fine, but the more the better, because now with the CXs, they have an advertised combined battery life of 27 hours. The earbuds themselves can go for 9 straight hours and the case can still supply those additional 2 charges. And for comparison's sake, the Momentum 2s have an advertised combined battery life of 28 hours, with their active noise cancellation turned off. The earbuds themselves can go for 7 hours, just like the CX 400BTs, but their larger case gives you 3 additional charges over the 2 additional charges that you'll find on the smaller cases. Now, when it comes to actually charging the CX's case, it charges via a USB-C port, just like all of these other Sennheiser cases. But unfortunately, this case doesn't have wireless charging, which admittedly is becoming more and more standard these days. Now, personally, I don't really care about wireless charging on my earbuds, but this could be a big deal for someone who either has a phone that supports power sharing, or for someone who has already invested in a few wireless charging mats. But now let's talk about the earbuds themselves. Regarding scopes, the CXs are identical to the CX 400BTs, meaning that their fit hasn't changed. The CXs fit like your standard pair of in-ear earbuds, as in they go into your ear canals a decent amount, just like, let's say, the Galaxy Buds. And the CXs have your standard round ear tips. These earbuds aren't shallow fitting like, let's say, either the AirPods Pro or Jabra Elite 85Ts. They don't have oval ear tips like the earbuds that I just mentioned or like the Galaxy Buds Pro. And the ear tips on the CXs are your standard silicone ear tips. They aren't these squishy foam ear tips that you'll find on the Sony WF-1000X1 which I find to be very itchy. Overall, fit is very subjective, but the CXs fit fine for a pair of standard in-ear earbuds. They have good lockdown and they passively block out noise. But yes, they do feel a little more intrusive than your AirPods Pro or Jabras if you're not used to in-ear earbuds. But they don't have any major problems to point out, like the foam ear tips found on the Sony WF-1000X1 which can get very itchy very quickly. But for comparison's sake, even though the CXs have a very different scope from the Momentum 2s, they still fit the same. But when it comes to connectivity, this is the most important and noticeable upgrade that you'll find on the CXs, and it's been a long time coming for Sennheiser. On the CXs, if you just want to use one earbud at a time, you can use either one, it doesn't matter. And this is the connection setup that we expect to see from our earbuds nowadays. Whereas with Sennheiser's previous earbuds, even their more premium Momentum 2s, they've been using a Hero and Sidekick setup. So one earbud, in this case the right earbud, the Hero earbud, actually establishes a connection with your phone and then relays that connection over to the left earbud. So if you just want to use one earbud at a time, you gotta use the correct earbud, in this case the right earbud or the Hero earbud. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with earbuds that are still using a Hero and Sidekick setup, but earbuds that are still using a Hero and Sidekick setup are either older or less gen, or they're just cheaper. However, for my power users, these earbuds are better used with one primary device. You can't be simultaneously connected to multiple devices with these earbuds, and you can't hot swap with these earbuds. If you're going to go from one device to another, you are going to have to fiddle around with your Bluetooth menu on both devices. Now, you can switch from one device to another through Sennheiser's app, but this is still pretty cumbersome compared to a lot of other earbuds out there. However, when it comes to performance, these earbuds have zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. And when it comes to audio codecs, these earbuds have support for SBC, AAC, and aptX. But now let's talk about actually listening to music with these earbuds. Like I've mentioned in the past, the Sennheiser Momentum 2s are my favorite sounding earbuds. And by default, so are the Sennheiser CX 400BTs, because they sound identical to the Momentum 2s. To me, the Momentum 2s are the most open sounding earbuds. They have great clarity and they have a rich resonating bass that not only sounds and feels great, it also doesn't interfere with the rest of the music like with some other earbuds. Now, when it comes to instrument separation and clarity, I gotta say the new CXs sound identical to the Momentum 2s. However, I can't help but notice that the bass on the CXs just hits harder and resonates more than the bass found on the Momentum 2s. Now, just like the CXs, the Momentum 2s have an adjustable EQ. But no matter how much I play around with these settings, I can't get the bass on the Momentum 2s to hit as hard or resonate as deep as the bass on the CXs. Now, don't get me wrong, the additional bass found on the CXs isn't a huge difference from the bass found on the Momentum 2s, and I wouldn't be surprised if your casual user didn't notice the difference. However, I do think that a very easy song to try this out with is going to be Reminder by The Weeknd. But the additional bass found on the CXs just makes listening to music more fun and dynamic. However, like I mentioned earlier, there is an app for Sennheiser's earbuds, which works on both Android and iOS. Here's looking at you, Galaxy Buds Pro. And through this app, you can adjust the sound of these earbuds to your liking. So if you want more bass, you can do that, or if you want more vocals, you can do that as well. But personally, I'm just going to be sticking to these earbuds stock EQ. However, I do want to quickly point out that the stock EQ on the CXs is a little different from the stock EQ found on the Momentum 2s. Besides the CX's more hard-hitting bass, I also noticed that the highs on the CXs are a little more relaxed than the highs on the Momentum 2s. Overall, just sounding a touch warmer than the Momentum 2s. Now, when it comes to your media controls, just like before, the CXs are using touchpads, and these touchpads are strictly tap-based, meaning that there are no swiping gestures. Overall, these touchpads are very accurate and they're easy to use. You've got full control over your media, and you can adjust your volume all from the earbuds themselves. And through Sennheiser's app, you can adjust the layout of your controls to your liking. However, if you're an Android user, just keep in mind these earbuds don't have Hey support, meaning that the only way that you can activate your voice assistant with these earbuds is through tapping and holding on their touchpad. However, regarding media controls, I do gotta point out that these earbuds still don't have proximity sensors, just like their predecessors, the CX400BTs. Meaning that when you take either of these earbuds out of your ears, they're not going to automatically pause your music like most other earbuds in this price range. And personally, I do feel that this is a noticeable inconvenience. And again, for comparison's sake, the Momentum 2s do have proximity sensors, but given their pricing, they better. Now, the Momentum 2s also have active noise cancellation, which I feel is on par of that of the AirPods Pro. However, the ANC on the Momentum 2s is still slotted below both the Jabra Elite 85Ts and Sony WF-1000XM4s, which just block out way more noise. But also, the Momentum 2s have an ambient mode, whereas the CXs just don't. Meaning that with the Momentum 2s, you can pump in some of the surrounding sounds around you while you're listening to your music or to your podcast and still be aware of your surroundings when you're walking around the city. But finally, here's the microphone test for the Sennheiser CXs. And I am going to have to say that with your 1.6.8 firmware running on these earbuds, I am going to have to say that this microphone needs work. For starters, this microphone sounds very quiet, but a really weird thing about this microphone is that it will randomly raise the gain for a split second and then bring it back down, which can be very jarring. So personally, I am going to have to say that I wouldn't take phone calls with these earbuds because of their low volume and a random mic gain, but I do think Sennheiser can fix this through a firmware update because they've done so in the past, specifically with the Momentum 2s. But for comparison's sake, here's the microphone found on the Sennheiser CX400BTs, which have way more amplification to them than the CXs. However, I do feel that this microphone has too much amplification to it, and it doesn't sound as clear as the microphone found on the CXs. And finally, here's the microphone found on the Sennheiser Momentum 2s, which I feel has a good amount of amplification to it. It's not overdone like the microphone found on the CX400BTs, but it also doesn't sound quiet like the microphone found on the CXs. However, I do feel that the microphone on the CXs has better clarity. So I do hope that the microphone on the CXs does get fixed through a future firmware update soon. So with all that being said, the new Sennheiser CXs aren't a huge upgrade from the Sennheiser CX400BTs, but they do have some notable upgrades like an improved battery life, and their earbuds now each establish a connection with your phone. So if you want to use one earbud at a time, you can use either one, it doesn't matter. But my favorite upgrade is that these earbuds do sound a little better than both the CX400BTs and Momentum 2s. Specifically, their bass just hits a little harder and it resonates a little more, just adding more fun to Sennheiser's already very expansive listening experience. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. If you want to pick any of the products up mentioned in this video, those will be linked in the description down below, and you can also support the channel by checking out the merch store. But other than that, I'll catch you next time.